People, we have 4 minutes for the form to start. Candidates, if you please grab the table for the front. Candidates, will you please move to the front? Folks, y'all will start moving for the seats. We're going to start in about 2 minutes. We have 1 minute to start the forum. If we have any elected officials in the audience, would you please stand up and identify yourselves or any candidates that are running for office in any other race? Yes. If you look back, that's Marto.
Yes, Leah J. Marto, running for Caddo Commissioner.
Yes.
Mike Milton, also running for Caddo Parish District 8.
Any other candidates or officers?
John Escudero running for re-election for Caddo Commission District 8.
Aaron Peacock, you're stuck with me 4 more years for the state senate district 37. Thank you.
Constable, Ward 6.
Thank you. Any school officials? Ms. Sarah? She was going to be here. I don't see her. Okay, at this time, we'd like to welcome everyone to the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association Sheriff's Forum. At this time, I'd like to introduce both candidates and call witnesses. Mr. Hatfield was running as a challenger, and Sheriff Prator is running as the incumbent. Gentlemen, if y'all would shake hands. Thank you. Both candidates agreed that this would send a message to the audience, and I'm so happy that they sent that message. If everyone would please stand, we'd like to say a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Very quickly, before the forum starts, we have a couple of announcements that we've been asked to share with y'all. First, from Senator Peacock, we want, as a neighborhood association, to encourage everybody to voice your support for the full completion of I-49, and we would hope that our candidates here tonight would also endorse and work for the completion of that. Our voices in this community need to be heard rather than the few people that are blocking this effort that we're going through right now. So, Senator Peacock, do you have anything you'd like to say very briefly?
I know there's going to be some forums that have come up probably in December or January. It's important that taking time out of your schedule to go to those meetings and more your support for I-49. You gather up as much information as possible.
Thank you, sir. Also, it was passed on to me that Moody's Investment Service unfortunately has downgraded Shreveport's $228 million in general obligation bonds from A1 to A2. You know, if you come to the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association forums, you know we track these figures, and we do everything we can to try to make sure that we get the highest bond ratings possible, because we are, you know, people who pay the taxes and we pay for these bonds. Okay? So with that said, now it's time for the main item on our agenda. That's the format, the Sheriff's Forum. I want to make sure and let everyone in this audience know that we contacted both candidates and talked to them about this forum. Both candidates said they want a very civil, structured, formatted forum, and that's what we're going to have here. There will be no questions from the audience. Questions were submitted in advance, and our board of directors of the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association met with our moderator, who, by the way, is Chris Record, and we chose the questions that we would be asking. So I ask everyone in our audience to please respect this format. We are guests of this church, and we've had this relationship there for a long, long time, and we'd like to keep that. With that said, I don't see anything happen. You know, if anybody has a question of the candidates that they want to ask personally, you may do so at the end of the forum. Both of these candidates will stay around and I'm sure answer any questions you might have individually. Okay, so we have the format's real simple. Each candidate will give a 2-minute introduction about themselves. Then we will, Mr. Record will ask a series of 18 questions. The candidates have drawn to see who goes first. And to start before Mr. Hatfield was selected, and he will be the candidate that gives the first opening. And then for the first 8 questions, he will also be the candidate that answers the question first. At question 9, we will switch, and Sheriff Prator will answer the questions first. And he will also give his closing remarks first. Okay? And we ask that both candidates keep their answers to the questions asked. And we've asked our moderator to facilitate that. So at this time, I'd like to turn our meeting over to Mr. Record. I'd like you to give a round of applause. Good luck, gentlemen.
Okay, we're going to start with openings. Mr. Hatfield, you've got the first 2 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Caddo Parish Constable at Hatfield. A lifelong resident of Shreveport. I lived in Broadmoor up until about 12 years ago. I currently own a home in Broadmoor now, and I'm a member of the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association. I was a deputy constable 11, 12 years ago, started as a deputy constable. And I was elected my first term as Caddo Parish Constable in Ward 8. I served 6 years, and then I ran again unopposed as a constable in Ward 8, and it kind of began along this area right here. I love being a constable. It's been a great job, and I'm completely happy with it. I just think that running for the office of sheriff, I can make more changes throughout the parish rather than being specific in one particular ward. I really appreciate the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association for having us here now and giving us this opportunity to speak and answer questions. And I'll be available after the meeting also to answer any questions you may have if you're not able to answer them for. So again, I thank you for coming. I'm Constable Eric Hatfield. I encourage you to vote on October 24th, and I appreciate your vote.
My name is Sheriff Prator, and I've been the sheriff now for 15 years. Many of you may have followed my career before that, which was law enforcement. That's all I've ever known as a career, and that's what I think God wanted me to do. I was called to do that. The fact that I was called to do is apparent in the results that we have at the Caddo Sheriff's Office for the last 15 years. I don't like to talk about myself. I never have. My close friends and most of the people in the Caddo Parish know that. I like to talk about the brave men and women of the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office that follow my leadership. They're the ones that get it done. They're the ones that do good things that you see the results of, which is crime being down for the last 15 years. 41% far exceeds the national average. You see our money. I'm very proud of the way that we handle our tax money that you citizens are good enough to give us. Of course, I always like to tell everyone that the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office collects your taxes, but we only keep 9%, which is an important thing to stress. With that 9%, we work very hard at doing what you want us to do. We don't go to Washington, Mardi Gras. We don't take flights all around the United States. We bring the training that is so necessary for Caddo Parish, for law enforcement, for the Shreveport Police Department, for the Marshal's Office, for everyone in law enforcement. We bring the training here to save money so we can have more people trained. And so we do an excellent job of taking care of your money. You notice I say we. And so what I'm asking you for on October the 24th, I'm asking you to renew my contract. I can't imagine you not, because you've seen the results that you've asked for, and I produced them because of my team. And when I say team, I don't mean the few people that work around me. I'm talking to almost 1,000 people that are paid by the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office. And so if you want to keep the quality of service that you've had, which is something I'm extremely proud of, then you vote for Steve Prator to be your sheriff. Thank you.
Okay, the first 2 questions, each candidate will have a question individualized, and then Constable Hatfield, you have been constable for several years now. Please describe what exactly a constable does. Second, how many assistant deputy constables are there, and what do they do? What kind of police powers do they have?
The constable is a elected law enforcement position. It's actually one of the first forms of law enforcement in the United States of America, and one of the first forms of law enforcement in Caddo Parish. A constable has the exact same authority as the sheriff or any other law enforcement officer. And as far as we have one chief deputy. Prior to this, we were able to have more deputies, and we thank Sheriff Chief Prator for allowing us the opportunity to have more deputies. Previously, about 3 years ago, we got a bill passed where the deputy constables could have as many deputies we wanted, so we appreciate him doing that. Since then, the deputies have been taken away, and now we have one deputy each.
What do they do, and what type of police powers do they have?
The constable, deputy constable have the exact same police powers as a Caddo Parish sheriff deputy or Caddo Parish sheriff. They patrol your neighborhoods there in Ward 8. We do theft, we do drug arrests, we do security for individuals that have things like that. Basically the same thing as the other deputy.
Sheriff Prator, how many people are currently employed by the sheriff's office? How do you choose deputies? Media constantly reports on city police being suspended. There is rarely any reports of deputies being suspended. What's the secret? Finally, what is the difference between the sheriff's deputy and the city police officer?
2 minutes, okay? We have roughly 1,000 people that are associated with the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office. Everyone there has so much pride in the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office, they like to be called deputies. In fact, not all of them have arrest power. There are many administrative functions. The ones that have arrest power are those that are fully trained and have post-certified and been through all the necessary training in order to earn the citizens' trust enough to have arrest power, which is something very solemn thing. It's a very serious thing to get a sheriff's office to have arrest power. There is a lot of difference between the city police and the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office as far as the function goes. They both have authority, both have arrest ability, they both have a lot of training, but the Shreveport Police Department is reserved, their jurisdiction is within the area of the Shreveport Police Department. The Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office has the entire parish where we have that authority, where we can police. Many of the Shreveport police officers have sworn in because we do a lot of task forces. That's where we can eliminate duplication of services, and we can get Shreveport Police Department, the ones that are on narcotics, the ones that do some of their fugitive recovery, some of the ones that do the things out in the parish, we swear them in, providing they have the proper training, and they therefore can police in the entire parish, helping all the citizens of Caddo Parish, not just Shreveport, but Caddo also, because we look at it as one parish. Even though Shreveport is a portion of that parish, the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office serves all of the parish, including the citizens of Shreveport.
Constable Hatfield, law enforcement through the nation is under scrutiny, and it seems that every community is a powder keg waiting to explode. What will you do as the chief law enforcement officer of this parish to be proactive in developing a civil atmosphere where all citizens feel that law enforcement is fair?
One, I do that by being a sheriff that gets along and works well and close with every single other agency involved in law enforcement in Caddo Parish. I'll be a sheriff that'll work with the DA. No matter who wins the DA race, I'll work with the district attorney. I'll work with the police chief. I'll work with the city marshal. I'll work with the DEA, the ATF, FBI, all other agencies. It's very important we work together in unison so that we can ensure the safety of the citizens and make sure we provide the best law enforcement we can to the citizens around us.
Sheriff Prator, same question? You bet. Law enforcement through the nation is under scrutiny, and it seems that every community is a powder keg waiting to explode. What will you do as the chief law enforcement officer of this parish to be proactive in developing a civil atmosphere where all citizens feel that law enforcement is fair?
I can't speak for the entire nation, I can speak for Caddo Parish. Caddo Parish is not a powder keg. Caddo Parish is very proud and responds to things like appreciating the Shreveport Police Department, the Marshal Service, and the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office with festivals, with prayer vigils, with appreciation banquets, and so we're not a powder keg in the Caddo Parish area. I know we have to be aware of things that happen nationally. We have to constantly be aware of what we do in the field of police work because it affects all sorts of persons, and you have to remember everybody comes from a diverse background, having been treated differently. But Caddo Parish is not a powder keg. I'm proud of the responsiveness and openness and the community programs and community attitude that the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office keeps from being a powder keg. Thank you.
Councilor Hatfield. In the wake of the Ferguson riots in 2014, a Republican presidential candidate wrote an op-ed in a nationally syndicated magazine concerning the militarization of law enforcement in America. In that article, the Bossier Sheriff's Office was referenced as having a 50 caliber machine gun mounted on an armored vehicle. Do we have any equipment like that, and what purpose would such a weapon serve our law enforcement?
I can't speak to the military sheriff's office, so I'm not sure what they have, what they don't have. And as far as do we have a need for that, then I don't see a need for a 50 caliber weapon, but if maybe the sheriff's office and whether the sheriff saw a need for it, then that was his decision, his discretion.
I don't appreciate the question with one of the words I can't pronounce. You hear about militarization of police departments. It was in the, I think the 3 or 4 times was talking about the fact that how many AR-15s that we had at the Caddo Sheriff's Office that came from the military. Yes, we have quite a few of them. Yes, our patrol deputies have to qualify, I believe, 6 times a year, and they have to shoot at 90%. They have to be secured from their vehicles because they answer calls many times out by themselves. But these are the same weapons that the military donated to us that we would have had to go on to Barney's or to Tico Supply and purchase. The exact same weapons, except different serial numbers. So we saved the Caddo Parish, citizens of Caddo Parish, many thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars by taking things from the military. We have a really nice personnel carrier that we paid $2,400 for. It would have cost $240,000 had we bought it. We refurbish it, we use it all the time. If an officer's down, if a citizen's down, there's gunfire around, we can go in and get that person out. We can go on high-risk warrants, and it's used quite often on high-risk warrants if we need to go crash in a door or to go somewhere like that to where we don't want to get our officers and deputies shot up. So that's kind of a touchy subject with me, but I'm kind of a big touchy kind of guy. And so this is this is an area that is much misreported in the media. The truth is, it saves money. And besides, if there is someone at Arthur Circle or somebody at one of the schools around here, and they have an AR-15 and they're shooting your kids up, do you think you want somebody showing up with less than that?
The Caddo Commission is currently considering a bill to limit where Caddo residents can shoot. Do you support that? What is the current law? And will you allocate funds to your department to create more safe, affordable shooting ranges for residents to use in different parts of the parish? Caddo Parish Commission is considering a bill to limit where Caddo residents can shoot. Do you support that? What is the current law? And will you allocate funds to your department to create more safe, affordable shooting ranges for residents to use in different parts of the parish?
One, I support the Second Amendment. I do believe that every citizen has the right to bear arms. Two, I do support shooting ranges, and if the parish has the funds to do so, then I do think the parish should provide places for these residents to shoot. And three, as far as I do know a little bit about the new Caddo Parish Commission law that they're trying to pass that says that you can't discharge a firearm within 1,000 feet of a designated subdivision. And I think they're trying, if I read it correctly or heard it correctly, I think they're trying to make it to where incorporate a lot of those subdivisions in the rural areas of the parish where they have problems with varmints and coyotes and things of that nature. And so I do believe that those people should have the right to protect their homes, whether it be less than 1,000 feet or more than 1,000 feet. I think the citizens do, that they protect our Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, protect their family. And if they're protecting their family or their home and it takes a firearm to do it, I think they should have every right to do so.
Sheriff Prator?
There was controversy with Caddo Parish Commission and the state legislature, and I say controversy is a little bit of a disagreement with some commissioners and some legislators. Prior to this last legislative session in Baton Rouge, the law was very strict, and that application of that law would prevent anybody from the parish from almost anyone from shooting a firearm. The state law was changed whereby it gave the ability of anything with 5 acres or less had to do with it was whatever the commission decided. It had more than 5 acres, and the commission couldn't tell you what to do with your large parcel of land. Now the commission wants to come back and they want to checkmate that particular law. I tell you all this to tell you it's very controversial. It depends on where you live. But I also want to tell you there's already a law that says you cannot discharge a firearm if it's foreseeable that injury or damage might occur. So there's already a current law. And so what we try to do in the sheriff's office is when there's something like this, it's one of these hot-blooded issues that is so controversial, you just tell me what the law is, and we're going to enforce it, because it's not up to the sheriff to decide whether you should shoot a firearm at a coyote or a deer. It's up to the sheriff to enforce whatever the legislative branches choose to apply. And that's what we're waiting on the commission to pass whatever they're going to do. Then we'll wait for the court to determine exactly how that's to be applied for its constitutionality. And then you tell us what the law is. We're going to apply. Thank you.
Citizens are complaining that a zip. Okay. Citizens are complaining that it is difficult for their kids to fulfill the hunter safety course requirement to get hunting licenses. Will you offer that course at least once a year in an after-school program or during the summer at every high school?
Absolutely. I do support hunter safety courses, and I do support any training that we can offer our youth and kids of Parish where they can get out and learn hunter safety so they can do it with the sword.
Certainly we were very much pro-hunter with the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office, and of course we taught that course for quite some time. Some of the deputies did, but it got to be so time-consuming. It is a state function. It is a state function and requirement that you have to do that. If we begin to do everything that the state requires, then sure enough and soon enough we won't be able to serve the citizens of Caddo Parish. Let the state come in and make it more accessible, which they have done. You can take it online, the bulk of it, and then you can get with Department of Wildlife Fisheries or particular private person or private entity that is qualified to do this, and you can take it and get it done. But we can't continue to do things. We have opened our range up for hunters to sight in their rifles and run some things that other sheriff's offices have now mimicked around the area, which I guess that's the best form of flattery, but we see it a lot. People mimicking what we do at the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office. And this is one of the very reasons and one of the things that you might have seen with the hunter safety course.
What are your thoughts on body cameras? We all can see the need for them, but there are examples of times where they're not appropriate.
I think that now I know that this kind of goes back to the Ferguson issue also. That in light of the Ferguson issue, obviously, if there were body cams and they have dispelled a lot of controversy that occurred as a result of those events. It's a departmental issue that's up to the department. I think that if the sheriff's office chooses to do it, they can another agency somewhere else may not do it. It all depends on the need and what the sheriff at that time feels like there's a need for. I do think there are cases where the body cam would tell a true story, tell a full story, and make it easier for law enforcement to act. And there's also times when it may or might be necessary. I think when the officers arrive in the car or when they're doing other things besides being on that call, then they shouldn't be wearing cameras. But I think when they're interacting with the public or it's a hostile situation, domestic violence or something like that, I do think body cameras are necessary. And that's for officer safety as well as the individual's protection of their service.
Yes, I believe in body cameras. I think that, yeah, I'd like to see every deputy that we have, and they would like to be wearing a body camera. Not just for hot calls like domestic violence, but it would be necessary to be on every citizen interaction. Because you never know in law enforcement when something's going to turn nasty quick. And you don't have time, you've got enough to do besides turn and find, oh, I should have had my body camera on. But more important than body cameras, I think it's necessary before you mandate that we wear body cameras, mandate training. What about that? Because you could put a body camera, go to the zoo, put a body camera on a monkey, I'll tell you what, it's a show. But you put a body camera on somebody that's trained, and chances are good you're going to see a good response. If you put a body camera on somebody that's not, and you're going to see a nasty response. And you talk about a bad Ferguson, and that's what you're going to have. So the body cameras, they're very expensive, and here again, we got to find ways where you got to cut something or find a new revenue, because there's not a lot of money just sitting around saying, I want to be spent on body cameras. And has anybody ever explained to anyone not only the cost of body cameras, but the memory storage? Extremely expensive. Extremely expensive. We were the first at the Parish Sheriff's Office, we were one of the first in this whole area to have full cameras in your cars. We were the first there. When I was with the Shreveport Police Department, I mandated that the cameras be in the cars. And the kind that no one can, the deputy or the officer cannot fool with, cannot erase, cannot download themselves. They drive by the station, they park, and it's downloaded automatically. So that's the kind of thing that so many people don't understand. You say body camera real quick, it doesn't mean much about it. Say body camera to a professional law enforcement person, it's expensive and a lot of work.
How important is transparency? How important is transparency in the office to you? Do you think an elected official should be held accountable to the same standards as every other citizen?
That's a fantastic question. And yes, I think transparency is very important. I think that each and every candidate should be held to the same standards. I think the sheriff should be held to the same standards as every single citizen in which he serves and the citizens that put that person in office. And for transparency, there's, as far as it goes back to before you were an officer or while you're during the time you're an officer, the citizens need to know who you are. If you require the citizens to have their paths open up, then I think that the sheriff should also have their paths open up also.
How could you not want full transparency? Of course I believe that.
Okay, we are at question number 9. Sheriff Prator will lead. An investigation's primary purpose is to ascertain if a law has been broken where a person is accused of a crime. With all the accusations flying around about the Caddo Commission, it is appropriate for the Sheriff's Office to launch such an investigation. Will you do so if you win this election?
Yes, sir, and without being completely transparent, because there are times when you shouldn't be reaching and talking about investigations. Certainly, if the Parish Commission has done something illegal and improper, that would fall under one of the statutes, that would meet something that the Caddo Sheriff's Office could take to a prosecutor. That's the key. That's the key. All right, without going into detail, many times corruption is taken to a prosecutor and nothing's done with it. We are turned down. I can't go out there because it's been turned down. The prosecution's been turned down. People recuse themselves from certain crimes that really need to be prosecuted. We have no control of that. We're just one of three legs. One is law enforcement. We investigate things. I promise you. The Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office, we get criticized because we'll go after everybody, including their enemies. You ever heard that? We go after anybody. I tell you what, we go after anybody we suspect violating the law, put the case together, take it to the prosecutor. And they'll take it either federal or local, and if they won't take one, we'll take it to the other, which is the case of a current commissioner that is under indictment because of our case. Right? So, of course, we do investigate anybody in Caddo Parish, from my deceased mother to the Caddo Parish Commission. I don't care who it is, we're going to look at it and think they violated the law.
I'm not so sure that I'd be interested in going after my deceased mother. And my mother's not deceased, she's here, and I'm grateful for that. But as far as an elected official, I do have an opinion on this. As far as an elected official investigating another elected official, as far as any commissioner, anywhere, I think that that's a bit of a problem. I think if one elected official shouldn't have a political corruption team that goes after other elected officials. I think that it's an elected official and it should be handed off to the state agency, the state police, or the attorney general's office. And that's my position on that.
Sheriff Prator. The Sheriff's Office has the responsibility of collecting property taxes. How many delinquent taxpayers are there in Caddo? And what approach will your office take to see that those responsible pay those back taxes?
Okay, we collect about 225,000 pieces, parcels of property. I don't know how many people own each one, because that would be, if I understood the question right, but I know how many parcels of property we collect from. And we were one of the first in the state to come up with a creative way after the law was changed, whereby people that don't pay their property taxes, they're the ones that have to pay for the collection of those property taxes. It's a business called Archon, and they have a business in New Orleans, and their job, if they people don't pay their, because there's some people that just historically will not pay their property taxes, time and time. We got tired of them not paying. And so we got this company that comes in, and that person, the scofflaw, is that what you call them, you know, anything? That person then has to pay the taxes, and then they have to pay the collection of those taxes. They have to pay that cost in addition. It doesn't come from you taxpayers, those of us that pay our taxes on time. It comes from those that don't pay our taxes on time. They then have to pay the company anymore. We pay nothing out of your money if you pay your taxes. They're paid for by people that don't pay their taxes. And they complain, gripe, and moan and groan, but too bad. Most of us pay our taxes. That's what you're supposed to do, is pay your taxes and pay them on time.
Actually, I disagree with the fact that the company will want to collect your taxes. As a developer, I have several pieces of property. During a reassessment year, your taxes will go up. And then during the year it's not reassessment year, your taxes shouldn't go up. So I have several buildings in the industrial park, and each year, I'll have 2 or 3 buildings that may have been $3,800 this year, and then they double next year. So those thousands of us that are developers or real estate owners, then we go and we contest these taxes and ask that they be reevaluated. So once we contest them and ask these taxes to be reevaluated, then if they become late after, at March, whatever the date is, they become late. Every single tax notice that comes at that point does not come from New Orleans. The Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office is paying a company out of California to collect your taxes. All your delinquent taxes is coming from a company in California. If elected your sheriff will no longer use California or New Orleans to collect your delinquent property taxes or any other property taxes, we'll offer those jobs to the citizens of Caddo Parish, the people that are unemployed here, that are able-bodied and willing, and anyone that can make a phone call or shut an envelope that wants a job, we'll offer those jobs to Caddo Parish citizens, and we'll take those jobs away from California.
Okay, Sheriff Prator. How will your office safety, and due process for citizens.
Well, those are two different subjects that don't really relate. Of course, every interaction that we have with the Caddo Parish citizen, due process is something that is, I mean, it's a polite contact, it's a cordial contact, unless it's not warranted as such. And how does that relate to the safety of the officers? Officers, deputies, is what we like to call them. The deputies, they are constantly training and constantly through in-service training, which is required each year. They're taught the newest and best ways of interviewing persons, of protecting yourself, of protecting your firearm, of less than lethal force if it gets into a situation like that. So there's a lot of things that go into that question. It cheats it to say 2 minutes. But due process is something that is more involved with the law as far as make sure that you have your rights when you go to court at a particular time, you're served correctly, you're appointed an attorney and all that. But citizen contacts, of course, we are extremely polite until it's not warranted. And then we're going to take care of business. And most of all, I don't want my deputies going home with their husbands or wives. And that's of foremost importance to me. And just reflecting on another question, the tax information that you heard last is completely wrong, what you were just told. Not going to be.
Actually, I agree with almost every single thing that Sheriff Prator said until the very last bit. I do agree that there is a difference between due process and officer safety. I think due process is exactly the way you described it. And I think officer safety is starts with your initial point of contact. When you first contact that citizen, if you contact that citizen, you know, in a non-confrontational manner, then a lot of times that'll be reciprocated. But he's right. I mean, it's all about the officers going home at the end of the day for their wives, husbands, sons, daughters, family, and that's what's most important.
Sheriff Prator, concealed weapons. Your thoughts and what we need to do to make these classes more available for citizens.
The concealed weapon classes, we were the first sheriff's office that started offering many years ago. It became such a drain on our manpower that we had to figure out a way, so we started charging up where when I hired deputies back overtime, pay them overtime to do the courses. Now there's a lot of different groups out there, individuals that offer concealed weapon courses. I think concealed weapons, I'm very much a proponent of having a concealed weapon, provided you are trained with that. That's the key. You'll hear me say training so many times. You can't take a course and all of a sudden put a pistol in your pocket and think that you're protected. You are more harm to society than you are help. It's not until you take that weapon, until you are proficient with it, till you have been trained and practiced and trained and practiced and trained and practiced. So yes, I believe in the concept, but I have to put a caveat on there that you've got to have the training and the mindset to be able to use it to protect your family and yourself. If that's the case, then certainly I am much a proponent of concealed weapon training and courses because we started offering. We were the first to offer them, fortunately.
And actually, the state of Louisiana supports concealed carry law. I support concealed carry law. I think that I know the state mandates the requirement for concealed carry, and that I encourage it. I support the Second Amendment. I think that we should all, like I said earlier, we should all have the right to bear arms, and that if the criminals on the street have guns, then we have to be able to protect ourselves equally. So I do support the training. I do support concealed weapon permits. I do support the fact that you need to train to carry.
Sheriff Prator, what do you see as the biggest issues facing law enforcement over the next 4 years? And what 2 things would you like to accomplish in that time frame?
Well, here again, the biggest issues facing the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office are to continue on the path that we've had, and that is that the sheriff be the chief law enforcement officer of the parish and the ex officio tax collector. So that's at the very top. Anything that comes, nothing can take over the the safety of the citizens. That's the number one issue that the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office. But intertwined in that are things that we talked about tonight. Intertwined in it are such things as the way that we treat the public, the way that the public treats us, the transparency issue. People need to know what we're doing. We need to tell them what we're doing. We need to get closer and closer to the community every day, and the community needs also to get closer and closer to us. And that's what you're seeing. Instead of us being a power keg, what you're seeing here is that these citizens are up in arms, just a speech, but they're up in arms wanting to applaud us and wanting to say thank you, wanting to do this. And that in turn has caused us to draw closer to them. So we're more of one body than we've ever been. And so that's one of the huge issues. It's not the safety of the citizens, because that's paramount, but it's how the citizens are treated, how the citizens treat us, understanding us and the job that we do. There's so many misconceptions in law enforcement. People that they don't understand what we're doing, and we think that they do. So we've got a bigger job to educate the citizens of why we do what we do and what the laws actually are. And so if we'll continue on the path that we're on, our issues are solvable.
Educating citizens is one thing, but being a sheriff that supports and protects each and every citizen is more important. There's a great need for more patrol and any patrol in some of the north ends of the parish. And so I've talked to many people, visited with citizens in the rural areas of the parish, and there's been said, I guess, the last forum that the parish is 900 square miles. And if there's a car wreck or a major wreck in one end of the parish, then all the deputies may be tied up in that one end of the parish. I guess my question would be that if I was out of town working and one of my family members or my children were home alone in a rural end of the parish at a dead end road, and they saw an armed gunman outside their house, and they called 911, what are they going to say? If every single deputy is tied up on that call, then I think that we need to reassess the situation, make sure we have deputies available in all areas. I think one way to do that is to take some of the specialty divisions that have specialty like safety town, things of that nature, and use these deputies to make sure that we have more patrol in the rural areas and make sure every single citizen in the parish has equal access to law enforcement in the parish. It's very important. That's what your tax dollars pay for, and that's what you deserve. Also, officer morale is very important. That's one of the key issues that we need. If the officers are happy, if they go home happy, and they come to work happy, they pass that on to the citizens that come up here. So it's very important to treat these deputies with respect and courtesy and compassion.
When it comes to public safety, one of the key elements is communication, especially in the event of a natural or man-made disaster. What are your thoughts on would you commit to the building of a tornado-proof facility for our local emergency 911 operations center?
The 911 Emergency Operations Center is put together by the 911 board. The 911 board is voted on, and the money that goes to them is voted on by you citizens and taxpayers. If you choose to build a tornado-proof 911 center, that's great, but the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office is under no obligation. We don't have the $100 million if we have to build one. Instead, this is what we've done. Instead, we have gone and made sure that we have contingency plans. As the Director of Homeland Security, that was one of the first things I did. If a tornado hits the 911 center, which was built years and years ago, and it's not tornado-proof, but it's very sound, if something does happen there, we have contingency plans where we automatically have arrangements to move to the port, which is a beautiful building down there. It is tornado-proof, and that's where our emergency operations and our communication center go. So that's ready to go, costing you nothing. And so, yeah, it'd be great if somebody wants to come up with the money. We'll sure staff it. But instead, and in the meantime, we choose to save taxpayer money and make contingency plans in buildings that are already safe, should something happen.
I agree with what the sheriff said. There's obviously not enough funds should use the funds that are available to protect the citizens and serve the citizens. And if we have a facility that's already available that can be used for that, then that's a perfect option. But as far as funding, you the taxpayer decide that and not the sheriff.
Sheriff Prator, describe 2 significant accomplishments in your law enforcement career that you consider to be the most significant points for voters to hear.
Well, I think the first thing, one of the things I'm most proud of, and I need to reflect back at the Shreveport Police Department when I was there. You may have heard of the Jump Out Boys, the Directed Patrol. You may have heard of the gangs that we eliminated in the bottom floors. You may remember those efforts. Well, a lot of that was my brainstorm, but a lot of it, decentralization, making captains responsible for their areas, all of that is something that I came up with as a plan. D.E. Stevens is here, and he was in charge of that effort. And also lending to it, and he's doing much more detail about the operational plans. But I know that if somebody's selling dope on a street corner, and they're not scared of a marked unit, then what you do is run unmarked units in on there, and then you run marked units in on there that will chase them, and then you go back to regular patrol. It's a simple concept, but it worked. And that's why the homicide rate went from 93 back then one year to I think 17 one year. That's one of the prime reasons. So that's one thing is aggressive law enforcement. The other thing is the many programs. Not only the Shreveport Police Department, but the Caddo Sheriff's Office programs that allow the citizens to what I call target parties. Okay, that makes it where you're less of a target. You're more apt to learn the things that will take care of yourself, like hiding your packages, lighting up your home, all of these things where you're hardening yourself as a target. And the programs that have brought the community together where we're not a power keg. We are so close to the community, and I know there's parts that we're not close to, as close as we should, but we're working towards it.
Constable Hatfield.
Well, my number one accomplishment is being a father. As far as my accomplishment, as far as law enforcement, the sheriff has 43 years, and he's almost 70 years old, and he has 43 years law enforcement experience. It's hard to match that. When the bottom boys came around, I was a kid. So my greatest accomplishment would be the fact that I served as a Parish Constable for Ward 8. I've done so that's not little or no funding. I patrolled the streets of Caddo Parish for almost 12 years, most of the time 30, 40 hours a week, and I've kept the neighborhood safe. I've kept crime down within Ward 8, and if elected sheriff, I'll do so the entire parish. If not, I'll continue to do the same thing in Ward 8.
Final question. Sheriff Prator, how do we reduce incarceration costs to the taxpayers?
Let me see if I can get up here one more time. I hope that you can count tax money better than you can years, because I ain't near 70. Anyway, I have created, one of the greatest things is when we created the Criminal Justice Task Force. And it was when I brought the DA's office and the judges and probation and parole and the city police and the Caddo Sheriff's Office together in one room. And there was actually, I had some media attention about this. We reduced the numbers of people that were in CCC awaiting trial. We reduced that by several hundred. And it's lasted for about 4 years now. So I'm extremely proud of that. I'm extremely proud of the different programs we started, like the reentry program. We were the first in the state to do that, because we don't want to see them again. We have very few, relatively speaking, very few state prisoners. We have no state prisoners that we hold out there just for money. We have state prisoners because you can cause them, you can force them to work because they're felons. We have about 800 out there that are awaiting trial. Some as much as 7 years awaiting trial. You can't force them to work. And so I've done all I can do, Sheriff, plus some, to save you citizens of Caddo Parish a lot of money, through the Criminal Justice Task Force. And that was a concept that sheriff's office brought, we forced the DA's office into it, and the judges bought into it because the DAs are the ones, they're the ones control the calendar in the courtroom.
Council Hatfield.
I'll let you share, I will not force the DA's office in anything. One way to decrease the number of people locked, or to reduce incarceration, last time I checked, it was 1,273 inmates in Caddo Parish Jail. 1,273 is far over the capacity of Caddo Parish Jail. First, we need to have more officers on the street rather than arresting people for small misdemeanor crimes. Or if we only have 2 deputies on the north of the parish, say we have 2 deputies in Vivian. 2 deputies are out there and they stop a gentleman and he has a dime bag of weed, or he has a marijuana rope or something like that. If he has no previous history of crimes, he's never been arrested before, it's going to take that officer 2 hours to arrest that individual, take him to CCC, book him in, and then return back to patrol. While this officer is driving all the way to CCC doing this, someone's home be broken into, someone could be raped, murdered, shot, something bad could happen. I think we need to stick to, as long as we have a shortage of officers on patrol, we need to stick to be smart on real crime, and some of these things that you can let go if it's in the matter of public safety.
Okay, each candidate gets 2 minutes closing. Starting with Sheriff Prator.
Okay, just one point of fact, the current capacity of CCC is 1,500, which is more than 1,273. So like I said, I'll let you know that we're not over capacity, we're 250 below capacity. Anyway, just thought I'd straighten that out. But in closing, I want to tell you something. I talked to you about the Caddo Sheriff's Office because that's easy for me to say. But I want to tell you something about Steve Prator. Steve Prator is a man to begin with, okay? And I don't mean that as a sexist statement. I mean that everybody reaches their point, okay? A point of whereby they're tired they just get tired of things being said that are not true.
Amen.
And I've reached that point. And so anyway, that's all I'll say about that, because we've done nothing but high road, and that's what we're going to do. I'm so proud of the Sheriff's Office, and I'm proud of Steve Prator. I'm proud of the fact that God gave me an ability to lead folks. And it takes a lot for me to even say that, because I'm a humble person. And anybody that knows me knows that's just not a joke. That's a true statement. But I'm proud of the fact that I have been open to God's calling to go into law enforcement and to lead brave men and women like I've been so fortunate to lead. They don't need anybody to tell them what to do except somebody to set that point on the horizon. And I said, men, women, that's where we need to go. And that's the sheriff's office that you see is one that's over there at that point and constantly going to it. And that's what I'm proud of. I'm proud of my leadership skills that my father put inside me, that God called me for. And that's what I'm proud of. So that's my 2 minutes, all I'm going to take on that Steve Prator. But the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office is a fine organization that is results-oriented. And you can't argue that. You can argue a lot of things. You misrepresent numbers, but you can't argue the fact that we've got results. And that's because the brave men and women in this room. Thank you.
If the message you share, it will not be about Eric Hatfield, it will be about the citizens and taxpayers of Caddo Parish. I will do my very best to serve each and every one of you to the best of my ability. I'll have an open door policy where you can call me, you can meet with me, and if there's something that you try to get resolved with another officer within the department, and you can't get resolved, then you can come to me. I'll be your sheriff, the sheriff of the people, for every single person in Caddo Parish, regardless of your color or your income. I'll be there for every single one of you, and I will do my very best. I'll make mistakes. I won't be the greatest sheriff that's ever been in this parish, but I will do my very best to serve and be a public servant rather than being self-serving. I'm your pastor, and I really appreciate the vote on 2024.
Okay, that concludes the forum. Each Sheriff Prator and Constable Hatfield will stick around if you have any individual questions. We appreciate you guys' time.
One thing before y'all leave, every one of y'all, or every other cheer, we had an announcement. That's a letter going out to 3,500 residents to encourage our neighborhood people to join the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association. And also, the postage and the printing costs of those letters going out to our neighborhood was paid for by a grant that we got from the Caddo Commission. And in that grant, our only obligation was to encourage our neighbors and our residents to shop at the Broadmoor neighborhood businesses. They are our neighbors, the businesses they own, pay taxes that we talked about here. So we have a thing in that letter about membership, but that's going to be to the people who get that letter from the mayor. I want to tell Sheriff Prator and Ms. Hatfield how much we appreciate them coming to the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association. Thank you, audience, for your respectful listening, and let's give them a round of applause.